Well, this morning I'm joined by Jason Booth, who's the Director of Technical and Learning at the GMA, and he's also the man behind the Programme Director of the GaNTIP programme. I think we first spoke just after the start of that GaNTIP programme, about 6 years ago, and we've spoken a couple of times on its route to where we are now. And I think it's fair to say, Jason, that whatever expectations you had for that programme at the very beginning, you've more than exceeded them. But as we speak now, I'll let you reply to that. Let's see what you say to that.
Yeah, Scott, thank you, and good morning. We started with a blank sheet of paper for the Grounds and Natural Turf Improvement Programme, better known as GaNTIP nowadays. And the remit was to upskill volunteers, increase participation and capacity for playing surfaces across the sports that were involved. And at that time, it was rugby league, football and cricket, and supported financially as well and funded by Sport England. So that was the challenge. We're now 5.5, 6 years further on, and it's been a great success. The first phase, as we'll call it, was funding of 1.3 million. That went up to 2.4 million in the second phase, and we're coming to the end of that now in the last year of that, and we're showing significant progress across the board.
Mm-hmm. Well, where we're sitting now, completely different ballpark to where we were looking forward 6 years ago, and we are in difficult times. But amazingly or strangely, it's a time when people who were perhaps looking to the airport lounge and their holiday in the sun are now looking for more pursuits that they can have closer to home, and the need for quality recreational facilities is much greater now than we probably ever anticipated before.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you've got to commend the governing bodies that have been part of GaNTIP, because their investment has gone up dramatically over the last 5 to 6 years that GaNTIP's been going. And as you well know, the Back to Play document that the GMA recently launched is a call to arms for volunteers. And it's playing surfaces and the experience that end users have, so the players that have at grassroots, is paramount to increasing participation. And every survey that every governing body puts out, the feedback always comes back as regards the quality of pitch and quality of playing surface that encourages them to play more. And we're targeting and we're talking about we call the casual player here, Scott, the ones that might just play 5 or 6 times a year because the mate said we're a little bit short and can you come and play. It's the experience that they have on that playing surfaces that actually encourages them to come back. So that's a real thing that people miss. I'm going to play cricket. I'll play cricket. I've done for years. I'm going to play cricket until I drop, and I'll always will do. So it's those casual players that we're trying to enjoy that experience, as well as the experienced players that play in day in, day out. And I think raising participation and raising the capacity of these playing surfaces is paramount to people, and it then splinters off into different areas. So mental health and older people that might get lonely, and it's that wider community approach as well that volunteering can do, and get down to your local cricket, football, rugby, croquet club, tennis club, and see how you can help. It's a great pastime. You make great friends, and it is really a massive call to arms for volunteers.
Now, that Back to Play document had some astonishing statistics included within it. I've got some of them here. 51,000 pitches, 1.4 million children in football and rugby, and 500,000 in cricket. 4 million more matches every year potential. Now, that's an awful lot of heavy usage of the washing machine, but as you say, it helps an awful lot when it comes to health and well-being and attacking the obesity crisis that we have at the moment. So it's a huge issue, and you're looking at this at a time when budgets are going to be stretched. Money won't necessarily be coming to our side, when it probably should, but it's hard to argue that against ploughing money into the NHS and the care services.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we sympathise at the GMA with everybody that's going through these terrible times at the minute. And the key focus for us is that there's a massive drive from these national governing bodies to increase participation. So they're looking at other areas. So it's an increase in girls that are playing, ethnic minorities that are playing across the sports, and they need somewhere to play. And there's going to be increased capacity on those surfaces. So what we've done, we've identified what needs to happen, i.e. resources and investment, to make sure that they can take on that extra capacity of sport that's going to be played over the coming years. And it goes, you can call it chicken and egg approach, which comes first. You need to have the facilities to be able to cope with what's coming. And what's really encouraging, Scott, is the amount of participation that's going up in those areas that I've just mentioned.
If someone does think, I've got some, as you mentioned, you've got some spare time in your hands that you might like to contribute somewhat. Do you looking for people with who have no skills whatsoever in that regard, or what if somebody said, "Oh, I quite fancy it, but I don't think it's for me"? How would you encourage someone or guide someone towards carrying out one of these volunteer positions?
Well, I'll just speak from personal experience to start with, Scott. Is that I've worked at I'd like to think every step of the pyramid that we currently have in our industry. I've recently gone back to volunteering. So I've gone up, I've knocked on the door of my local cricket club. I said, "Can I help?" I didn't tell them who I was, what I did, what my experience was. There's a volunteer there that works day in, day out. Really, I went up and I was his right-hand man. He told me to fetch this, carry that, do this. Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? I let him teach me from scratch, because you've got to totally respect the volunteers that dedicate all this time for them put into the local sport. So that was my approach. You can do what I've done and go to the local sports club, or you can visit the GMA website, which has extensive information on where you can get in touch with these national governing bodies. The COVID-19 page on the GMA website is a brilliant resource for anybody that works in our industry, from corporate right down to volunteer, for any issue or any challenge or any information that they may need. It's got absolutely everything in. So I'd recommend that everybody visits the GMA COVID-19 page.
I think, as I said earlier, it looks like sport is going to be more important because we won't be travelling, I don't think. We won't be jumping in planes to the same extent. So it is extremely important that we support the plans that you're putting in place and have put in place. So good luck with that going forward.
Yeah, and the tough thing about where we are at the minute, there's no start date or end date to where sport might start, if you know what I'm trying to say. And that's been the tough thing, to be able to give guidance and information and recommendation and suggestions for each sport. And we cover a vast range of sports at the GMA in our membership, is to be able to give that information. One thing we've avoided doing, Scott, is saying what's essential, because there's that many different scenarios for all the levels. So all we do is give a framework and suggestions. We'll never say what's essential, because what might be essential for you is totally different to what's essential for me. So, but there's a vast range, again, of information we've developed with the national governing bodies. We call them interim maintenance documents, which are on the COVID-19 pages, and it covers every sport. And you can go on there, from winter sports to summer sports. And you can go on there and you can find out more about what will be happening to your playing surface during this time. How can I get it back to play? So there's a vast array of information there, and there's also the opportunity to be able to contact the GMA for more information if you don't quite understand anything.
And personally, Jason, I mean, I know you're out and around, up and down the length and breadth of the country all through the year. You must be getting a bit stir crazy, confined to barracks a little bit. Are you finding that you're able to carry out your function from within the four walls that I'm looking at you at the moment?
Yeah, it's actually the wife's beauty room. So as you can see from the certificates on the wall, sort of thing. So I'm usually away 80% of the time and 20% at home, as you well know, as we've bumped into each other on the road. And I'm like everybody else, didn't realise how good technology could be until COVID happened, and it's the need and the necessity to work through this forum, and I'm finding it refreshing. It can be frustrating, technology at times. It seems to break down when you least expect it, or at least want it to. But I'm finding it a massive asset, and it'll probably change, like it will change on other industries and other people's place of work and how they approach work. It will change my approach to work going forward, and lots more utilisation of technology, and I'll make the most of that. And I've been busier than I've ever been, believe it or not, because I sit on this chair at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't seem to get out until 6 o'clock in the evening. But I also don't mind, because all I'm doing all day and every day is trying to help people in our industry.
Well, if you're sitting in your wife's beauty room, she's doing a good job on you.
Yeah, others would disagree. So.
Jason, thanks very much, and good luck going forward. And I hope that we do get to see each other. I know it'll be changed circumstances, but I hope we get to see you again fairly soon. It's great work that you're doing, and I hope that the call to arms for volunteers is successful, and keep it up.
Thanks, Scott, and great to talk to you.